Okay, so I'm very happy to introduce Olena here. She's going to be talking about the mysterious but vital role of the Search PM. To be honest, I've not known very many Search PMs. I've found a lot of people who are PMs and then suddenly find themselves in the search team, which can be a terrifying experience because it's a lot to learn. And search, luckily for me, I think is not like a lot of other disciplines. So I'm very much looking forward to this talk. Please, give a round of applause.
Thank you. So can you hear me, right? Okay. So 3 things that I'll do differently if I would be a first-time search PM ever again, which is not likely. I started my product journey in banking. For many years, I was working in the environment, was highly regulated, many rules, was predictable, like legislation and the processes, was a lot of limitations and like approvals. Launching a new feature can take months, like for planning, testing, again, approve everything, and nothing could be gone live without fully validated. And that mindset shaped how I approached the product for a long time, like structured, cautious, and focus on the predictability. And then I joined Search. I moved into Search, which was like completely different from my banking background. It was the full opposite from what I experienced before. When I became Search PM 3 years ago, I assume it would be like similar product, just go with your metrics, do your road mapping, define the success and ship features. But I quickly realized that search is different. It's dynamic, unpredictable, and deeply human, with lots of ambiguity in definitions like relevancy, accuracy, user intent, query understanding, and my banking mindset didn't really work. And the nature of search changed how I lead, think, and measure. That experience taught me how to be more flexible and agile in decision-making as a product manager. And if I could go back in the beginning of my journey as a search PM, there are 3 stops that I will do differently. And my first stop is stop thinking of the search as a feature that you can finish. When I launched my first search improvement, the new ranking strategy to align our B2B customers' expectations with B2C customers' needs, my first thought was, okay, I'm down now. I can have my celebration, like cup of tea, and focus on something else. At that time, I was working in recruitment business, and recruitment business is very seasonal. There are spikes in the beginning of the quarters and the drops for the summer and the Christmas holidays. So a few months later, after my launch, I noticed the changes in our job applications metrics. And that happened because new season brought new users and the new job content on the platform, and our algorithms didn't caught it up. So we were not ready for the changes. And that was my first mindset shift in thinking. Search doesn't stay solved. It needs ongoing tuning and attention. Search is never done. Like, if you just join the search, don't expect that you'll finish it anytime. No. Unlike most features, search doesn't have a finish line. You can't launch it and move on. Search evolves constantly as your users, content, and the technology change. Every improvements that you make will generate new user behavior, new query types, or new expectations that like people have from your product. So the goal for search is not to solve it, it's to continuously learn and adopt. And there are two things that I'll do differently. The first one, I'll start with just accepting that the search world isn't static. You join something that will continuously change over and over again because of the many factors around you. And the second one is changing the mindset, like start thinking in loops, not in projects. Again, it's ongoing. If you will think in projects, you might have in mind something like a deadline or completed point, which never happen and make you frustrated sometimes. So measure, learn, adjust, and repeat, and that's the circle. So my second stop is stop trying to make the search right. When I joined Search, the relevance was the biggest problem for our users. And if you remember, I came from banking. So the first thing I thought is to solve the biggest problem of our users, which is the relevance. And I wanted our search to return the most relevant results, of course. And I started with understanding what relevance means to our users. And after the series of user interviews, surveys, and the deep dive into the metrics, I still had no question what the relevance means for our users. Just because it means something different for all of them. And that was my measurement shift. Search isn't about being right, it's about being helpful and guide the users when they need that. So the good search gives users a way forward with clarification, suggestions, and different filters. Instead of pretending it knows the perfect answer, just guide the users in their journey. With search, you cannot be right for 100%. In banking, there was a clear definition of right. A correct transaction, completed calculation, successful action, desired outcome, right data for calculation. It always was, in most of the cases, it was black and white in terms of the decision making. In search, there is no single answer. Every query can mean multiple things. And relevance depends on the context, user's intent, and even emotions sometimes. For example, remote jobs can be fully remote or remote from anywhere in the world or hybrid or remote from the specific country. So traditional product mindset doesn't work. Users are unpredictable and search lives in ambiguity. And my two things for the measurements difference and the improvements are, instead of, so I would try to measure, I would start with measuring satisfaction instead of perfection. like process and guidelines that we provide to the users is more important than the perfect answer that we return in our search results. Focus on how well the system helps users succeed in their journey. And the second one is to test more with users. Offline testing doesn't reflect user behavior. Users type incorrect, incomplete queries or make mistakes or refine their searches if they can't find something. The offline testing tells us just a part of the journey, not the whole. And my third stop is stop improving search in pieces. In my early days as a search product manager, I worked on the new filter that was supposed to shorten user journey and help them to find matching jobs quicker. It looked like a simple, high-impact idea. We went live. A user could narrow results more efficiently, and I expected the increase in engagement. But once we went live, something strange happened. Our key search metrics are actually dropped, and fewer users started to use filters, and even fewer of them started to click on the results. And I realized that while the new filter looked cleaner, it didn't align with our ranking approach. And some combinations that users use with that filter actually make the result poor in the quality. And as a result, the expectations that users had, the experience that user had, that was actually broken because the parts were not aligned together. That was my leadership shift towards more orchestration. So optimizing one layer doesn't fix search. The experience lives in how everything connects and fits together. I saw search as a collection of components like UI, algorithms, infrastructure, data quality, but I learned that search only makes sense when all parts comes together. Improving one layer in isolation do not improve the experience. Search is more like the ecosystem where small misalignment between the parts, like faster algorithm paired with poor UI or great results surfaced on the bad data, can break users' trust. And my two thoughts on the last stop is to focus on understanding how users search more than on what they are searching for, and look at the whole journey that users have. Problems in search rarely come from one layer. A bad result might come from the UI confusion or data gap or ranking problem. Align all parts around one definition of success. Set the definition of success that reflects the user outcomes and not just the system performance. And my final thoughts are, search isn't the feature, it's experience. So we as a product manager should think, measure, and lead it as experience as well. Building a good search experience isn't just about the tech, it's about solving user problems. And while building search products, we should step back and see the big picture. understanding what users do with the search instead of what we design search for or what we expect them to do is more important than for building the user experience. So when that will help to build the experience mindset that help you to succeed as a search product manager or just search person in general. And I will be glad to connect with everyone. You can find me on LinkedIn by name, by scanning the QR code, or drop me an email, and I'll be happy to discuss everyone's experience. I like that a lot. And also, I will use the opportunity to share the Women of Search are going to launch our first newsletter, and we actually have if we invite everyone to subscribe to our newsletter, and you will have a chance to win full subscription to AI-powered course by Trey and Doug that will start in November, and we will announce the winner in end of October. And that's it from my side.
Wonderful. Just to add on the Women of Search group, this is something that started a few years ago at some of the search conferences. And it started with literally a handful of people. I think now there are
300.
About 300 people involved all around the world. We know that in IT, generally, the gender balance is pretty awful, but we can make a difference in our tiny little corner of it. I think that's a really positive thing. So do share that. Everyone can share it with somebody they know working in the field. Right, so do we have any questions?
Hi, no, thank you for sharing your experience. I was really interested in what you mentioned around like focusing on satisfaction or like the user satisfaction. I was wondering, how do you measure that? Because I guess, you know, in the e-commerce space and Depop, we can look at conversions, precisions, all that, but like the delight factor for a user, is that something that you measure in the A/B testing that you do on search?
In general, I would say the best measure of user satisfaction, which is maybe not scalable, but actually speak with your users. I attended most of the user interviews that the research team did, and I go through the recordings and I read the surveys and I read the NPS score feedback. And I think that, and when I went to the meetup, I spoke with people who actually search for the job and asked them a question how they're doing this. And I think that provides the most insightful, the most insight that you can get from users. You can also have a lot of metrics, and you can have, we had the feedback on the search page, but if you really want to learn from people, just talk with them.
Sure, thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I think it's a similar question, but I was just wondering from the sort of modeling perspective, if it's known to you, when you say you think the user satisfaction is more important than the perfection, if I recall your slide correctly, do you know if the modeling metrics change, you know, from, you know, monitoring perfection to satisfaction? Thank you.
Yeah, you will define your your user satisfaction for your product. So, for example, something like for us, let's say the conversion was the number of applications that user do. But for e-commerce, that might be something different. On the meetup, the product meetup in Germany, I learned from other e-commerce product manager that a lot of people actually use their platform for discovery. They didn't do anything, they didn't purchase it. They just discovered different products, but at some point they might come back and make a purchase. So an understanding how users use your platform and what is the satisfaction for them, that will be important. There is no like one answer. There might be something for one product and absolutely different thing for another. But just again, focus on your users, what they're doing, why they're doing this, where they're coming from, and where they're going after the search. That will help you to understand what is the point of satisfaction for them.
I'd just like to add to that, that one of the funny things is, in e-commerce, we think it's pretty obvious. People buy something. We see that as the end point, the end of the journey. If you're doing recruitment, you know, you might say, well, finding a job is maybe the end point, or finding a candidate, finding an employee. What if you're doing a search engine over just some information? You know, where's the satisfaction there? I just read the summary. It told me what I needed to know. I'm done. So some of these, being able to extract that from the data is sometimes very, very hard. And even in e-commerce, it's not always obvious. Are they just randomly late night browsing your items with no actual intention to buy because they're going to go to Amazon anyway? You don't know.
So talk to your users.
Talk to your users. Any further questions? Okay, just one thing to add. So there's actually a search product managers, what's it called?
Yeah, it's a Search Product Managers group as a part of the Relevancy Slack channel. If you find me on LinkedIn, I can share with you a link, but we meet every month. I think it's every third Tuesday. So the October meeting was yesterday. So the next one will happen in November. So you will be able to join that.
Yeah, I just remembered it's actually called Search Product Managers Therapy.
Yeah. Maybe I can just post it in the event comments.
Yeah. Is everyone aware of Relevant Slack? Who isn't aware of Relevant Slack?
We can post it in the
Excellent,
events
right.
comments.
So it's a big Slack group. There's over 5,500 people on there, all doing different aspects of search. You must join it. It's the best place to ask all these questions. And there's load of channels about technologies and roles. There's jobs. Fantastic resource to get involved in. Again, I'll post it on the group so you can find out. Do we have any further questions for anyone? Brilliant, please. Round of applause.
Thank you.